Taking a look at a book. This is Wilderness Travel Medicine, well, a comprehensive guide to wilderness and travel medicine. This is the third edition of it. It's by Eric Weiss, but it's published by Adventure Medical Kits. You can get this just on their website, or I imagine Amazon or any other number of places. Fairly popular books. They've been around for a while. As I mentioned, this one's a third edition. I got this one a few years back already, and it's a book, so it's made out of paper. Nothing special about it. It's not like it's right in the rain paper or anything, but it's a quality book. It's bound well. I can't say that I abuse this book, but I do take it with me pretty much on most outings into the wilderness. Of course, as you might have seen in our other videos, I usually have some sort of an admin case where I keep my manuals and my books like this. I like to keep them in good shape. There's no point in paying, in this case, $15 cover price for a book that gets damaged just because you're not paying attention to it. Point of this video though is to I was going through some stuff here, and this book was in the gear that I was playing with, and I figured I'd take a moment to do a quick video on it. First off, Adventure Medical Kit's a great company. We've met them a few times now at the different trade shows, and they're great people, real great, easygoing people. They really know their stuff. You can tell they take pride in the stuff that they do, and this book really reflects that. It's really, I don't think, if you notice as I page through it here, there's really not a lot of blank pages. There's no blank pages. There's not hardly any room in the margins. I mean, it's crammed full of information. I like this book for a couple of reasons. First off, its size really lends itself well to being taken along with you. Doesn't weigh very much. I suppose since we have a scale here, usually it's not a big deal how much a book weighs, but since this is something that is designed to go with you, I guess I should let the scale finish here. It weighs 5.3 ounces, so again, it's a lot of paper, but it's nothing that it should really matter to most people. 5 ounces isn't really much. It's not spiral bound. I guess the only suggestion I would ever have is to make it spiral bound, because those tend to last a little longer. But I've used this quite a bit, and the binding's still in pretty decent shape. You'll notice though, when I hold a book like this, I'm so used to being cheap about it, I almost never let my books open all the way. So unless I could really have to, I don't stress that binding too much when I use the book. But I mentioned I like this book for a couple of reasons. The size is one, but also the amount of information that's in it. Now, I'm a ex-EMT, so it's not like I'm an expert, but I am familiar with first aid stuff. But it's a perishable skill, and I'll be the first to admit that I don't remember exactly this or exactly that. I pretty much got the gist of it still, but having a book like this is excellent reference for me for sure, because it's got a quick table of contents. I can quickly jump to the page I need to. I guess if I had any other suggestions, I would suggest maybe some sort of a writing on the binding to quickly get you to breathing or bleeding or whatever. But in any case, it's got a fairly decent, easy to use table of contents. Takes you right to the section you might need to refresh yourself on. But what it's got is really good information for the novice. So you don't need to be a doctor or a paramedic or anything to read these. It's just in regular writing. It's not just a bunch of lists of charts and this and that. It's not really trying to teach you things about the bones you may not need to know, but it is going to teach you how to put that dislocated hip back into position. I guess there's a fair amount of illustrations. It's tough, I'm sure, with when you're publishing a book like this. I would like to see more illustrations, but then the book becomes quite large because there is a certain amount of writing you have to do. Now they've got treatment. I'm just going to go through the table of contents really quick because I know I can't remember everything that's in the book. But it's not just basic first aid. It is definitely the ABCs: airway, breathing, and circulation, and your basic first aid type of stuff. CPR, shock injuries, injuries that happen. But in addition to injuries, that includes all the basic stuff like fractures and sprains, and in this case dislocations. And it's because it deals with wilderness stuff and with travel stuff, it assumes that you're going to be in a remote location. It goes beyond just the injuries that can happen and the medical emergencies, and gets you into things like insect bites, frost snip, heat illnesses, diving, hazardous marine life, seafood poisoning, fish hook, lightning, foreign travel, medical advice and assistance. And that it refers, in 177 here, that refers to how to get medical advice. Who to ask for. When you're in an English-speaking country, who to ask for. And that kind of stuff is really, I think beneficial. For somebody like myself, I don't study other countries or anything, but if I find myself needing to, for some emergency, go find a relative, pick up a relative who got sick in another country or something on vacation. I don't know, something that I can't anticipate. Having a book like this with me, would definitely be an advantage. I correct myself. There are some blank pages in the back, I guess, if you have notes or something. But then there's also the index, so you can quickly get to things, from that way. But what I like about it too is because it has to do with travel and the outdoors, it deals with things like medical supplies for an extended expedition. Things to add to supplement your first aid kit. It talks about the different medications, antibiotics and whatnot you might be dealing with on an extended trip or a travel. How to manage wounds over time. And it's just stuff that goes a little more depth than your typical first aid kit type of book. Can't recommend it enough. Real handy book. They make some others, but this is honestly the only one that I've owned and held on to for any amount of time. Because I'm kind of a nerd about this stuff, I will read this occasionally. Again, we were out camping. And this happens, you get in a fight with somebody or something, you just get sick of talking to them. All right, I'm going to go spend some time in the tent with a flashlight and read a book. That's the kind of book I don't mind reading. Get your mind off of stuff. It gets you reading something that's worthwhile. If you're just super bored, it's something you can pick out of your pack, read a little bit, catch up on sprains or on fractures. And worst thing that happens is next time somebody gets injured, you remember, what to do a little quicker than you would have if you didn't research it. So again, I think it's an interesting book. Definitely worth the 5 ounces and the $15 it costs to get a hold of one. Of course, you could probably check for one used somewhere, but I doubt too many people, once they've got this, are going to let go of it. Wilderness and Travel Medicine by Adventure Medical.